Welcome to the Top Lines and Tails weekly podcast, as always kindly sponsored by Harbro, manufacturers of quality livestock nutrition. Welcome to another episode of Top Lines and Tails, and my guest this week will be quite familiar to quite a lot of you. An old mate of mine coming to you live from the Cairngorms, Raymond Irvine. How you doing, Raymond?
Not too bad, Andy. Nice to hear from you. How are you doing yourself?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Raymond. The last time I saw you, you were hot there, running about in your kilt. I've never seen a man judge sheep so fast as you were down there in Wales.
Yeah, well, I was dodging in and out the shady bits, trying to stay out the sun down in Wales. I was kind of introduced to help judge a certain sheep down there, so it was my pleasure.
We'll come on to that in a second, but as I said, you judge your sheep that fast, it's more like it was like an Olympic event, the speed you were going round there. I think you were just trying to get it done so you can get back in the bar.
Yeah, well, you could be right there.
And the breed of sheep that you're with, we'll come on to those in a second, but they wouldn't be like in the sun either. It's not quite their natural climes, I don't think.
No, they're kind of, well, saying that, they would be used to the sun for sure, but a lot higher up, I think. They would be in altitude.
Yeah. Well, the fine way you are there up in the Cairngorms, but as you said, down there in Wales in that hot cauldron there, Jesus, that was a hot day.
Yeah, but they had a great turnout. It was great to see. Good to see the shows back again.
And it is good to see the shows back, you're right. And as I said, we were all mates, just a few cattlemen between us, and here you are now. I thought I'm making my way to fame on the radio, but here you are now, a TV star, Raymond. A lot of people will know you, of course, from your programme when you were on This Farming Life.
Yeah, who would have thought that, going back... when we met, 20, 30 years ago, maybe more than that, never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now, or have done what I've done now. So, yeah,
sure. And
surprised to me too.
And if we go back to those early days, of course, when I knew you, it was with your Charolais cattle, and you'd been in Charolais cattle a long time, and your old man John would be in there before you. Would he, Raymond? Let's go back to the cattle. And when did you get started with Charolais?
Oh, my dad started it when he was about 19, 20. He left here. He left up here when he was just a young lad, and moved down to Kenilworth.
Okay.
And actually, it was some of the first Charolais that came into Kenilworth. But my father, he stayed down. He was stockman down there for Kenilworth and Abbey Charolais it was. Uh-huh. And he was there about 2 years. And he came. He when he left there, he actually took. A couple of years after that, he took one of the first bulls up into the northeast up here.
Okay.
It was the first Charolais bull ever born in the UK.
Right.
And he was about 7, 8 years old when Dad taken him up here, and I think...
Oh, you're fine. And you'll have put him across up there, I suppose, across some cross-suckler cows originally with the early Charolais. He would have done.
I think in that time, in my dad's and my granddad's time, it had been a lot of Herefords and Angus they would have had back then. So, yeah. Yeah, so it'd been one of the first continental kind of bulls into the area, and they couldn't believe how well he actually did. With a wee mart, Tom and Till mart at the time, which is not there now, like these wee marts, and I think they didn't know what had hit them with these calves a year old, and they were 450, 500 kilos. It was great.
As you said, especially out of some Angus and Herefords, because they wouldn't be very big back in those days.
No, not at all. You've been talking about a yearling up there for your Herefords and Angus. And they wouldn't have done any creep feed as they do these days. They would have been 350, 300 kilos or something.
Yeah. And obviously you saw the potential in Charolais because he went into them in a pedigree way anyway. And did he start buying a few cows?
Yeah, well, my dad bought a few cows from the Abbey herd and the Kenilworth herd. He went back and bought a couple of cows, 2-3 cows actually from them. So that's where we actually got started. And Dad started, and I was only a wee boy. I would have been maybe 5 or 6 at the time. So that's where I kind of took it on.
Obviously took an interest in them and developed the herd up, and very successful herd. Of course, the Inverlochie herd has been, and I've seen you selling bulls up in the 20,000s now. So you went to the top of the breed.
Yeah, I suppose I got introduced quite young, and I enjoyed. Dad did a bit of the showing, and then I took over a little bit of the showing as a wee teenager, or when I was at school and that, and I enjoyed competing at the old Tom and Till Mart. It was just a small gathering of farmers in the kind of area, and I just loved showing cattle. and it gave you a wee boost getting a few prizes. But the Charolais herd itself, it's grew on since that 3 cows. We're up to about 45 cows now, so we're sticking about that.
And you've been up that sort of level for a while. As I said, what was your top price, Raymond? I do remember you being in Perth with a decent price.
Well, we had an amazing time. It was the Inverloch Resolve, a homebred bull we kept, and I remember my dad was asked to show the bull sales, and we had old Sandy Innes and Blelick. They all came in by to see this bull. Young bull, and we were actually going to sell him, but with Dad showing, we decided to keep him. We thought if these top breeders really like this bull, then maybe he's worth keeping for ourselves. We kept him, and the first bulls off of him, we had 5 bulls off him, and they averaged our top price with 2 at 18,000, with one at 17,000, one at 15,000, another one at 14,000. That was all at the same bull sales, and it was just incredible.
What sort of year was that?
That's going back about 20 years now, in Inverloch Resolve, and that's going back to the old market in Perth. But recently, well, not saying recently, about 5-6 years ago, we did well with Bollinger Sons, Balmile Bollinger Sons, where we're up at 25 and 20,000. So, that's right. No, it's been really good.
And champion with that bull as well, if I remember right, were you not?
Yeah, we kind of walked away with everything that day. We had champion and reserve, overall champion and reserve overall that day, and the same with the Resolve Sons. Before that, we had intermediate champion, reserve intermediate champion, and reserve senior champion. So yeah, we've done well. We've done really well.
Who got you
so far?
Who got you £25,000 bull? That good to go home?
Yeah, well, that was Inverloch Fencer, made 25,000. He was actually the reserve that day, and he went to Kersnow.
Okay.
And they've done really, really well. I think a lot of their good cows that are off them are breeding well now. So, not really good.
It's satisfactory when they go to a good home and then some stock come back off it, and you probably end up buying a bull back from there at some stage, I guess.
Yeah, it's great to see your stock going on. And doing really well, 100%, and especially with some of these well-known breeds. You've got some of these big herds like Kersnow's been in it for years. It's good to see them continuing. We're losing a lot of these old herds now. You see them dispersing out now, which is a shame, really. There's a lot of good cows through all that herds.
Certainly was a good cattle always came from Kersnow anyway, and you said about the shows, and of course the Highland show would be your stomping ground as well, and hey, just not just for the cattle but for the skite as well. You and I have been up to Mischief there before now, and have you done well at the Highland?
Yeah, through the years, quite consistent with the Highland. We're always look to be, we try and bring out something to support the our national local kind of big show. And I think we do all right. We've got good stock here, and it shows in the show ring. We pick up our firsts, and at the Highland Show we've had champion of the breed quite a few times, reserve champion, quite many firsts. But yeah, no, it's for me it's a holiday. Sure. It's good to get away. It's good to catch up with people. I maybe treat it maybe too much like a holiday.
You're a man that needs a holiday the same as us all, because you work hard, and we'll come on to what else you do in a second. But I remember this year at the Highlander, you had a good big heifer there, big long-legged heifer. I saw her on the washer. How did she go on? Because she was huge.
Would that have been my young cow? A young cow there, she was actually for a Charolais, which was quite good. She was under 3-year-old, calved about 2.5-year-old, and she was a big power of heifer. She did really well. She was first in her class, but she was just young enough for the cow, the cow class, sure. Mature. She'll be a good cow in 2 years' time, I think, for the older class. But she's some cow, right head on her, good walker. And a cracking wee calf aside her, so no, she did really, really well.
And what are you thinking of the Charolais these days now? Some of them, they were criticised, I suppose, maybe 5 or 6 years ago for getting them a bit too big and a bit too hard there. They need the big cattle in the north, though. The Aberdeenshire boys like them huge, don't they? Are you thinking they get a bit big now?
I don't know. I think we're kind of pushed I don't agree with the figures, the way they're pushing the figures, but I think with the more younger farmer, it's what they're looking for. So we are getting pushed that way towards figures. Our cows here don't have the best of figures because we bought bulls on the eye, like Bulmile Bollinger, Lochend Apache, which is, this is a top commercial man's cattle. And, we like to sell commercial kind of cattle to the commercial man. But now they're looking at figures, is making the job for me. We've got to look at what the young guys and young farmers are wanting to do these days, and I think they look a little bit more to the figures and making things easier calved, which I think is right. And I think now with the Charolais breed, we have took out most of the harder calving bulls, and we're not using them anymore. But I think there's a mediocre, middle of the road. You've got to use your eye. For me, I'll use my eye, 60%, 40% in figures now. I'm kind of gotten pushed that way. So it is difficult. You've got to balance, all these things now to think about what you need to be getting, to breed good Charolais pedigree bulls now.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, and as you said, the figures are a bit of a mishmash sometimes, aren't they? Some people believe them and some people don't, and sometimes they're easy disproved as well with the carving. But it's a means to an end that we've got to get down that road. And do you run other cattle there on the farm as well as the Charolais? You run some sucklers there on the hill?
Well, we've got two farms here. I came on Mains and Veruri here about 20 years ago, and we moved all the Charolais cows. So we've got 45 Charolais cows down here. Up at my dad's at Inverlochie farm, we have 50 commercial cows, and they run between Simmental cows and Solaire cows, and we put the Charolais bull onto them. But just recently, I've actually just bought 20 Ling Cross Sims, which are, my idea is to keep them out in the hill, less work for them, less management, and put the, limousine for a start onto them, and then the Charolais bull onto them after. Less work and less feed, so...
Certainly the Ling cow is making its mark as a hill cow now, isn't it? For all they've been around a while, a lot of people are starting to notice them now, and with, as you said, with less work and less feed and less labour, the Ling's coming into its own up on the higher ground.
Yeah, I think there's more of this happening. Your Ling and this outwinter cow. There's more. We're looking at the results and things coming back. I could keep now 2 Ling Sim coos out in the hill for the same price of keeping one big Sim coo or a big limousine coo or even a big Charolais cross coo inside and have 2 calves. So. Yeah, it's going to be less work. So I think there's more of the young farmers kind of looking at that as well nowadays.
Comes down to profit at the end of the day, doesn't it? It's about what you produce out the gate, not the biggest ones. The gate.
Exactly. Well, didn't get me wrong. I would love to breed the biggest commercial calf at the shows and the sales, or the heaviest weight gain calf for its age and all that. We'd all love to do that, but then we've got to think of how much feed you're putting into them and the feed into the mother, and we've got to take all that into consideration now as well. Nowadays.
Cost of feed, of course, is driving that a bit faster, maybe.
Yeah, cost of feed nowadays is unbelievable. I was actually just talking about it with the missus there, the other day. I says, we can't go on. How do we do this pedigree job nowadays with bull feeds up at £450 and £500 nearly a ton? It's to us it's not worth it. It's getting, we need to think, is there another way, an easier way to do it, a cheaper way to do it? But
right, well, Raymond, of course, we've talked about the cattle, but a lot more people will know you more recently anyway for the Valais Blacknose sheep, and that's been a hell of a story. You best start us at the beginning with this. I think a lot of people will be interested in this breed of sheep. It's been good to you, Raymond. Let's see, how did you get started with these?
You're going to, we're talking about the sheep breed here, and it's funny because I was never a fan of the sheep. So, it is a very long story. And how I started was I met a lassie. This is the truth. You'll not believe this. I met a lassie called Jenny McAllister on the internet. So she had moved up here, and she actually showed me a picture. One picture. There was no pictures of these sheep. This certain sheep. And she showed me a picture, and I goes, "What the bloody hell is that like?" And she's like, "Oh, that's a Valais Blacknose." I said, "I've never seen that. It's not real." And then I thought, right, okay, if I'm needing to keep this lassie here, we need to, I need to try and get her interested to stay here. So we actually did a bit of research trying to find out where these sheep from, and they were called Valais Blacknose. They were, and I actually on Facebook, we couldn't find anywhere or the internet who had them. I tried to contact people, had nothing. So went on to Facebook, and I actually was going through people's. Well, I found out they were in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. So I was going through Swiss people's Facebook accounts, looking at pictures to see if I could find these sheep. And anybody who had a picture of this sheep on their profile, I was messaging them. But it wasn't. I had to translate it, so I had to Google Translate it and send it. And luckily enough, one person answered us and said, "Oh, we have this sheep." And I said, "Right, great." And started to get a conversation going, and we found out there was a show over there. So we said, "Right, Jenny, let's just get on the plane, go over to this show, and introduce ourselves to some of these breeders." And this was about March 2014, I think it was. So we did that. We jumped on the plane, over we went. We were lucky enough to meet one of the top breeders who was actually winning that day. And we said to him, "What's the chance of us maybe bringing back a few?" And they were said, "Yeah, let's try and do that." And, Jenny did a lot of paperwork. We managed to select 13 Valais Blacknose. Right. And after about 2-3 months, we actually, they arrived up in Stirling. They did. So, yeah. And they actually, the funny thing again here, they got off the float where their drinkers actually, I didn't think were working very well, and we stopped at Andrew Hornell's right. with a sheep, and he couldn't believe. I says, "Andrew, any chance of us getting some water from you to give this sheep?" And he was like, "What the?" And he was like swearing, like, "What are these damn things?" Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, and I didn't know. We didn't really know what we had either. We never bought these for business. It was only for a bit of pleasure for, me and my now fiance, like, who's still here.
That's a good tale. Buy some sheep to get a wife. That's probably not the first time that's been done. Yeah. To be fair, Raymond, but it's a good story. And you'd be bringing in then, what would they be? Lambs you'd be bringing in, or Gemmas, or Tups, or what?
We over there, it's just a certain area that has them over there, and they're like one of the family over there. They will not part with their good ones. You've got to really become friends with them over there to get something really good. Mm-hmm. And we were actually lucky enough to get 2 or 3 of the top ones over there, because the guy over there was losing them with a wolf. And this favourite of his, which she was a cracking yow, called Mimi it was, and we got her actually over, and the reason was because he was worried that the wolf was going to kill her.
Right. Okay.
And they have a big problem over there in the Alps, in Switzerland, with the wolves. So
we're talking about the Swiss Alps here, aren't we? So are we talking high? Do they go up to the snow line and above that breed?
Yeah, they'll go right to the top. There was one part we went back and we returned in September to help them take them off the mountain, which is an experience in its own. I couldn't believe it. There was they actually had an electric fence, 10 kilometers electric fence around the top of this mountain, and I was crapping myself because it was so high up. And they have a shepherd up there to watch them.
Right.
And the electric fence up there is to stop the wolves coming.
Okay.
And killing them in the night. And I remember walking up one side of the mountain, and I was rolling in one of the wires, and the old Swiss boy who couldn't speak a lot of English, he was rolling up beside me. He overtook me, and I'm like, God almighty! And I sat down with him, and I goes, I says, you're quite fit, like. I says, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 74 years old. Oh my God. Oh my! The air must be a lot different out there compared to here.
Probably not taking as much drink as you, Raymond. Maybe that's it. The both of us, for that matter. But no, it'll be thin. The air up there.
Yeah,
I've skied up at that height, and obviously when you get up there, the air is thin. You can barely bloody breathe up there, can you?
yeah. Well, they will be 3,000 to 4,000 meters up.
Yeah.
Some of that sheep are up there,
Mm-hmm.
but they do so well. It's unbelievable. The nick at some of that lambs come back down off the mountain and just tremendous, like.
And they'll bring them down for the winter, obviously, but probably not down into the valleys. They'll just bring them down to the snow line, I guess. I've seen they have the little huts and farms.
Yeah, they'll take them. Yeah, they go up there about end of May. I think they put them out. It's kind of probably a bit like common grazing a little bit out there. But they've got little flocks out there. There's no big flocks out there. They've all kind of got maybe 20 and 30 sheep each. Okay. And they're not really farmers. They've got their own day-to-day jobs. This is just a hobby, really, for some of them out there. And yeah.
Will there be many other sheep running up to that height, or any other sheep that can live at that height up there, or are they just the only ones up there and lonely up there on that hill?
Actually, out on that hill, it's just them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just them they have out there. There is one or two other kind of breeds. There's a goat as well, the black and white goat they have out there, and some of the crossbreds they have out there, but mostly Valais Blacknose in that area.
Okay, and no cattle up there. I don't suppose that's Simmental country there, isn't it? Really?
It's the lad that we got the sheep off. He actually milks semi cows. Mm-hmm. Which was really good to see. He's got a byre the old-fashioned way, and he's got the wee milk machine and goes round them. He even goes up in the summer. They go up onto the Alps and milks the semi cows. Up in the Alps, like it's just so extraordinary. Like
the milking parlour at 4,000 meters. Well, it'll take a while for the tanker to get up there and fetch it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And Raymond, they've been a phenomenal success story for you. As you said, you didn't do it for a business to start with, but obviously a little bit of advertising, and you got people clambering at your door to buy these sheep off you. And I will say that for a fair profit, I would think, Raymond, they've been a bit of a cash machine for you.
Yeah, well, we got them back. We were the second one to actually get them back into the UK. Someone got them in down south a few weeks before us, and us not knowing really what we had, out of interest, they were actually trying to sell some. So I emailed them just to see what the crack was, just to see, what have we got, what are they actually, worth. And they came out, they had a package deal of 4 ewes and a tup for 25 grand each. And they were selling them at that. And they were going, left, right and centre. A ewe was easy 4 or 5 grand.
Really?
And I went back through the house and told Jenny, you see what we've got here? She couldn't believe it either. So what we did, we says, right, if that's the price of them, I says, well, and there seems to be so much interest. Why don't we go back over and get some more? So we did. A few months later, we went back over and says, can we please have another 25 or something? I think it was 27. I think we came back with the second time.
And were they easy to get in the country? Problems with MV and that sort of thing? They're all clear of that? Were they fairly straightforward to import?
This was a very, very, very strange thing. We had a lot of work trying to get them in. They tested them all over there. The problem is that time they never tested for scrapie or anything like that. Okay. So I think that's why it was easier at that time to get them in. And that's the problem now. We realised they were going to shut the door, and they had to be scrapie tested. They have to be Group 1s, which none of them in Switzerland are. They don't do anything like that. So that was our opportunity to go out and buy another 27. Well, we came back with 27 before, they put this rule in where they've got to be MV and they've got to be scrapie.
Group 1.
Yeah, scrapie Geno 1.
Yeah, and as they are now, of course, to put them into Ireland and various places, of course, you've got to have those. Do you run them as an MV flock? We
don't run them as we test them every year for MV. I think there was a bit of problem with ones coming in from Switzerland which had MV and which had to be slaughtered and that. But we test every year to make sure everything's okay because, well, we have other sheep. We've 1,000 Cheviots and Blackies, so it would mean us probably, testing the whole flock for MV, which would costly. It would be too costly.
But you've certainly ruled that you've ironed out the MV out of them anyway for certainly the ones that you've got.
Yeah. So we go around every year. We take blood test them every year, make sure they're free MV. If there is anything comes in, then that gets slaughtered. You don't want any of that starting up anything. So
and have you got
best to be safe and sorry.
Have you got them all genotype ones?
No. Well, we got them in before they made that rule. So most ours now are actually genotype 3. So, which I feel is a better type of sheep. The Swiss sheep, the true Swiss sheep, is genotype 3. There was Group 1s coming in from Holland, which we also bought them as well, which can be exported around the world, which I thought was a good way to go. And we did do that for a start. We exported to Sweden, we export to Hungary, where else? Norway, a lot of that. So the geno, that's the great thing about your Group 1s. They can be exported.
You're right, and there is a slight antagonism really between, or used to be. I remember when the Texels brought the great big genotyping in there, and all the best sheep were Group 3s. The Group 1s were bad ones, and it took a long time to get the Texel world, or most of the pedigree sheep world, up into that Group 1. It's a bit of throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit, but I suppose you'd have people clambering for them, and obviously, as you said, you advertised them, and people started coming to your door. And did you organise a sale, or how did you control the amount of people that were after them?
The funny thing is, we started a Facebook page, and it's Valais Blacknose Sheep Scotland, and I put a video up on it with us out on one of the Alps where we tame the sheep off that mountain with the electric fence, and it got over 4 or 5 million views, and our followers went from 1,000 to 70,000 just kind of over 2 days. It was incredible, and the amount of the messages, I couldn't keep up with the messages that was coming in from Facebook, and people who'd never heard of these sheep, seen these sheep, and that's where the advertising came for a start. That was the boost for us. 70,000 followers on our page. It's probably one of the bigger livestock pages followers in the UK. I would think. I've not seen many more bigger. So
we're about near bursting point. Raymond breaks the internet. Maybe you're about near that level.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, really. And then, did you set up a breed society, or did your other guys set up? Is there a breed society? How does it work?
Yeah, so the breed we had 2 breed societies. Get a new breed in. I think it's happened with is it a Dutch Spotted or the Blue Dutch, the Beltec. It always happens, and it was the same here. There was a south one, there was a north breed society, but we've joined forces now, and we're one society, which is the best thing we've ever done. We maybe should have done it earlier and worked together. You're always better working together. Sure. So yeah, I'm actually joint chairman of the Valais Blacknose Breed Society now. Okay. In the UK.
So let's look at numbers, Raymond. Then roughly how many breeders are there out? I mean, we're winding forward now 10 years, 8 years. How many breeders and how many sheep are there in the UK now?
Well, I was just looking back on the records yesterday. So we've got about 800 members on the Valais Blacknose Society now.
Wow.
Who has the sheep? 800 members. And we have, I think we're up to nearly 5,000 sheep in the UK.
Okay. Wow. That 800 members is a lot. That's a big breed society by any standards. Certainly you'll be near the top of the numbers.
Yeah, 100%. And I know a lot of people, they talk about this breed as, it's just for the people with a lot of money, and so not really. I think this is, everybody loves these sheep. You see the sheep. The nature of these sheep is unbelievable. Why not have one of these as a pet? Or And there's more to these actually. If you ask me another question about the meat.
I'm going to ask you that right now, to be fair, because it's up to you now. You've got the floor here, so you can sell these on. But obviously, the wool, is I suppose it's akin to an Angora type of wool, isn't it? So the wool must be. Is it valuable? Because wool's worth nothing in most sheep these days. So is it a valuable wool, or does it just look nice?
The wool, to be honest, Andy, it's the same as the rest of the wool in the UK. Because it was rare, the breed was rare, everybody wanted to get their hands on it. It is a nice wool for felting and carpets and outerwear and that, but it is quite a coarse wool. So, we were getting £25 a fleece. And we've got to remember, we clip these sheep have to be clipped twice a year. So that's 50 quid we were getting off them for a start, which is, there's no many sheep can claim that. They can do that. It's dropped down now a little bit. I think there's still people selling them for that, but ours just goes to the wool board now. The lamb's fleece is lovely. You've got to shear the lambs at 6 months old, right. Or they get too matted. So,
and there will be a fair bit of grooming to do at the shows. I was in the line with my few Rylands, who do have good wool, by the way. My Rylands in the next alley to you at the Highland Show, and I was thankful you were there because everybody went down your row instead of cluttering up mine, so I could sit quietly and have a beer. But there's a lot of interest, but there's a lot of work. I watched you guys at it. There's a lot of work going into dressing these things as well.
The interest is phenomenal. The Highland Show, and every year that we've had them there at the Highland Show. Well, this year was the first time at the Highland Show, but the row, as you say, was packed out every time. I couldn't even get in to see my sheep at times. I just had to go sit back with a pint on the side here and just watch them go by.
They take a bit of dressing, a bit of grooming.
The dressing of them is actually all done before the show. If you can prepare your sheep right before the show, then they should look good on the day. There's not a lot to be done. You don't do nothing with the fleece itself. Really, it's spend a bit of time on the legs and the head, and because their wool grows so much under their chin and the top of their head and their legs, you've got to get all that knots out and get it. Just kind of work at the knots and hot water, soap, and try and get all that knots out really beforehand. And then the day of the sale, make sure there's no straw on them, really. You don't want to brush the fleece. You want to leave it all as natural as you can.
And they are very white. You show the wool very white. That's because they're washed out, but I assume it's
It's a beautifully white fleece. It's amazing how white they do come out when they're prepared right. Yes.
Take a bit of keeping clean as well, I'd imagine, but that's all part and parcel of the job. And Raymond, you said that as you said, the Highland Show, it was your first time with classes there, and there were classes down at the Royal Welsh. In fact, there's been classes everywhere just now, and that will be a lot of that'll be down to yourself, I guess, and the work that you've done with the society to get these classes in, and you're now judge number one, so you'll be a busy man in the next year or two.
We're getting classes. I think we having a bit of a rest with the COVID. I think it's the sheep numbers is built up with the Valais Blacknose, and a lot of the big shows are realising we need these sheep at the shows. They are crowd pullers, and it's for anybody, not just the farmer. It's for even townies come in and they'll have a look at the people who don't have these sheep, just want to see these sheep. Be around the sheep, see what's going on, they follow the sheep. The interest is amazing, and as you've noticed, as you say, the Welsh, the Highland, the Yorkshire, all these top shows now are wanting these sheep there, which is it's great for the breed, and I think it'll grow and grow.
Yeah, and it's good for yourself too. And as I said, you are the judge here, and I watched you judging the other day, as I said at the top of this program, that you're going a hell of a speed because it was hot there. But what do you judge? What should we be looking for? What's underneath this wool, and what should these people be looking for? The ones that are buying in. There's got to be good ones and bad ones in every breed. Although you'll say you've got all the best ones. What should you be looking for? What should you be looking for as a judge?
For me, it's like every other breed. You've got to have, I must admit, they're not they don't carry the fat as a lot of other breeds. We've got to remember these are they're a mountain breed, they're a lean breed. They don't carry fat on them. So you need to have a body there as well. They need to be good in the legs, real good head to them, show themselves well, walk well. The other thing important, I know everybody talks about the black spots and the black knees, and that is essential. But you need to have the wool as well, right down the legs. It's about having the same length of wool on the body as you have in the legs and the head. And it is, I think it's an easy way you can pick some of them out. There's a lot of sheep maybe don't have the wool on the legs or the heads, or they're looking, they just don't look like a Valais Blacknose. It's like another, they're just not so good, that ones. Sure. For me, it's it's the whole package. Everything that's the carcass, and the wool especially as well. The length of wool all over, really.
Certainly, the one I saw you put up at the Highland and at the Welsh rather, in the class that you judged, it looked like you'd got a bit of confirmation about it as well. And I'm sure you've got to try and keep that in mind, because much as people don't like to hear this, people still they still got to eat some of them, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's actually the best class down at the Welsh was the three gimmers. What a line of three gimmers I've never seen. They were so even, but the one at the top that I gave the champion to, she just had a bit more power to her and width, and a great mover. All over very good. The three of them were tremendous. Actually, they stood out a mile.
And you won the Highland show. Well done for your first for the first show that's there. And we would go so far as to say you've probably got the best Valais Blacknose in the country. But there'll be a few people chasing your shirt tails as well. And what sort of money are we looking at? I mean, you're going into the sales this autumn. What sort of money have you been up to with rams and ewes this last couple of years?
Well, the price of these has been really good. I think overall, and on average, the price of the Valais Blacknose, as everybody will see, a lot of people can't buy them because the average price of these for a gimmer would be 3,000-4,000 easy, and lambs are between 2,000 and 3,000. I think there's going to take a step back a wee bit, but not much, because I think it's like every other breed. You're going to get good ones, you're going to get bad ones. The good ones are going to make a lot of money, and I think with the breeders that are in it, it's going to keep going. Mm-hmm. The price of these, but we've been up there in Blacknose Beauties, which is again coming up this August. But last year we were up at 11,000 with a gimmer. She was champion at the Blacknose Beauties, and our ram, our shearling ram, was up at 9,000. So really good. I think the top end is going to be tremendous, and just carry on like.
Well, if you've got 800 members, there's got to be people out there looking for rams by now as well. You must be starting to get, because to start with, of course, it would be all females, but there must be people now looking for a ram if they want to make a good ram. If they're going to make a good ram, as you know, is half your flock. If they're going to make the job right, the rams will be starting to get in demand.
Yeah, exactly. This year I've got about 11. I'm getting my wee bit in here. I've got 11 shearlings to sell, so okay. It's my wee advertising. No, yeah, definitely. We've got a lot of good breeding females here, and I think people now, they need to look for good rams. It's like a bull. It's your other half of the herd. Your ram is the other half of your flock. So if you want to breed good stuff and get good money for your offspring, then you need to look at buying good pedigreed sheep to carry that on, improve it. You don't want to go the other way, really, so look out for good stock.
And you'll be in an advisory role, almost a fatherhood role in this breed, being in there that early. And I know there was one or two of you, but you must be having people coming to you for advice all the time and sort of asking you what you need in it. It's become a full-time job, I think, for you, Raymond.
Yeah, the amount of people, when we first advertised that we had these, I had 2 or 3 buses of people turning up from America and jumping out their bus and running over and shouting my name, and I've never had that in my life.
Only the police.
Usually for a payment or something, but I get a lot of messages, a lot of phone calls, not just in this country, America, New Zealand, all over the world. New people are asking for some advice on these. I try and give the best as I can. I'm not perfect, but what the knowledge I do know, I try and help them out.
Sure.
But it's great to see. Not just this. We got them in this country, but now because we got them in this country and advertised in this country, they've moved on to New Zealand and America now as well.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be obviously to grow with that sort of money you can afford to do it. To grow the flock, you will have been using embryo transfer, I guess. And how's that worked out for you?
We actually, to get the flock a bit bigger, we decided to go down the embryo transfer side of it and breed with our really good ewes, and we did that to establish our flock to the quality ewes that we wanted here. And then after that, we actually did the embryo transfer and sent a lot of embryos over to New Zealand because they were really, it was the only way they could get that breed, and that was good for a start. And then we realised, we thought, why are they doing that? So we realised, they're planning selling to America. So we've decided to, why don't we build a flock in New Zealand? So we now have a flock of 20 Valais Blacknoses in New Zealand.
Okay, which you're flushing down there and selling them into America, I guess.
Well, we've actually teamed up with somebody in America at the moment, and we have flushed the ewes, and there is 70 embryos heading to USA.
Wow.
I think next month, and then that ewes and tups that are in New Zealand will be shipped over, I think, next year to New York.
Right.
And there's a shed being built at the moment for our sheep over in America.
It's some story, Raymond. It really is. And of course, one of the things that will have helped you, and I'm sure you'll admit this yourself, is, and I mentioned at the start that you got yourself on TV on the This Farming Life, and a brilliant program that's been. I think by the time you got onto it was maybe series 3 or 4, but that will have given you a little bit of a lift. And with Elfie, I mean, who couldn't love Elfie? She was just gorgeous and great TV, and that's got to help you out a big time.
Yeah, who would have believed that? It's crazy. My dad can't even believe it either. Like, he still curses me to this moment because you don't realize what's being filmed until you see it on the television. And I actually have to admit, the banter between me and Father, it's actually exactly the way that you see it on the TV. We're always having a go at each other, but then we're speaking to each other 5 minutes later. But yeah, it's been great. That the amount of the publicity was amazing. I have to admit, for my Charolais and the sheep as well. It boosted them. They actually, to be honest, I think the sheep were up an extra £1,000. Not just for me, but I actually think I was selling them too cheap. It was more the ones down south. I couldn't believe what they were selling them for down there, but it was all through that program. It was little Elfie. So.
And we've spoke to one or two people on this podcast before who were on This Farming Life. And how intrusive is that to have the camera crews just turning up there and being there 2 or 3 days? And it's not just one camera. I'd imagine there's 4 or 5 of them turning up on a regular basis in the snow and the bad weather. And you needing to get on and do work. Was it a problem, or did you just take it in your stride?
Well, they came to us for a start, and I says, they said what they wanted to do, and I says, that'll be all right. And I said, but we're not doing any retakes. I says, you see it the way it is. And there was only one camera actually that was filming us with two people there, and they would phone us up and say, what have you got on? I says, we're doing this. They says, can we come out? So they would come out for 2 days and film something. Not that my dad, when I told my dad that for a start, he was like, he was swearing. He wasn't even going to speak to me. He wasn't even going to come near a camera, and he didn't for the first time. But yeah, by the end of the few weeks, and they've been coming, he couldn't get him away from it. Like, he loved it, like, actually deep dude.
Brilliant. And you actually ended up doing 2 series, I think, didn't you, Raymond? They came back to you a second time, didn't they?
They came back. We were going to start the second series. We were a month into it, but my mother, sadly, she passed away. Okay. So we kind of had to say no. It just wasn't right at the right time. Sure. But we enjoyed what we did the year before. Everything, it was good fun. It was good fun, and the cameras did stay out our road. Well, some of the time.
But as I said, there'd be two or three of them there, and in the way. Sometimes it must be you'd have to make a big decision and take a big chunk out of your year to make sure that you keep them right.
Yeah, you imagine, when you're working with cattle or sheep and they see strange people, it doesn't quite go to plan, especially trying to move cattle and you've got a camera standing in the road and you're actually swearing at them, trying not to swear at them to get them bloody out the road.
Well, a bit like me with this podcast, there'll be an edit button, so I'd imagine some of that will get taken out. But as you said, they'd be. It must have been awkward.
Yeah, it's funny that the amount of people that turn around and says, "God, I can't believe you didn't swear." And I says, "Oh, well, we did swear. We were swearing, all right. They've just edited it out."
It did make good television, and on that score, really, they're looking for people again now. Would you recommend folks give it a go? And you basically got to not take yourself too seriously, I guess, to make good television. As you said, you've got to enjoy it, really. But with other people looking to go in there, would you say no? I wouldn't do that again.
I wouldn't say no. I would probably do it again. I quite enjoyed it. And as I say, it was advertising for as long as you're advertising for the right thing and it's for farming, I think that's the way to go. And that's what we kind of really need to be pushing more, about our sheep, what's getting grown in this country. That's what I believe in, and I think we all need to be trying to push more our beef and our meat and our pork and milk and everything. We need more of that on the television, and how hard it is to produce all this stuff at the end of the day.
You're totally right, and that program did do that. We all felt that it was a warts and all look at the farming compared to the cotton wool way that the likes of Country File and these other programs sort of wrap it up and trying to go down the ecology route and the other animals. You could smell the shit on that program, really good.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about your farming life. You were following day-to-day farmers. You've seen what happened in their farm. Every farmer likes to know what every other farmer's up to, or there's little tricks in this. It's the same when you're driving down the motorway. If you're a farmer, you do nothing but look at other farms, farm fields and farm coos all the way down the road. But the missus is shouting at me, "Would you keep your eye on the road?" It's just the way of life. You want to know what everybody else is doing, and I think it's a great program.
I've got
and they just have so many. Yeah,
I've got a theory that the reason farmers drive 4-wheel drives is so they can see over the hedges at other farmers. Nothing to do with getting stuck in the field at all.
I think you're right there.
And as I said, Elfie there, everybody I want to know, is she still on the go, or did you sell her for like £10,000 and cash her in, or does she belong to the BBC now?
Oh, God. Elfie, the amount of people that come and ask me, "Oh, you're the boy that has Elfie." I go, yeah, I'm afraid so. And they all think it was Alfie, and I think it's just the way I spoke on TV or whatever, but Elfie was a girl, and we do still have Elfie, and Elfie's had 3 lambs now, so. Oh, good. But yeah, no, we still got Elfie, and we were at the Highland Show with Elfie, and we did Selfie with Elfie, and it was so popular.
Yeah, I think
so popular.
Not just the Highland Show. I think you've been a bit of a celebrity rounding about the place with Elfie there, and again, that's brilliant. It's getting people interested in farming, and as people know when they talk to you, they'll get told warts and all. It's not just about a few fluffy ones and a bit of money. It's about promoting farming. I think that's a great thing.
Exactly. I think, it's what we grow. I know these are Swiss sheep, but now, we kind of class them as, the Scottish sheep, British sheep they are now. So, it's about promoting what we have here in Britain, so in the UK, which is, I think we have to push a lot more nowadays, because, there's so much of this importing of this foreign beef and foreign meats and that, we need to look at what we have in this country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Raymond. And there's a lot of resistance too. Of course, there's growing meat with the vegan lobbies and what have you. But I think it's up to farmers themselves to get out there and promote. And Raymond, you certainly are a self-promoter, if nothing else.
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm speaking shite.
No, that's brilliant. And just remind me again when the sale would be, and how can people get hold of some of these Valais Blacknose if they need to, without just, can they turn up and just have a look and you give them a bit of advice? Where's the sale at?
Our society, big society sale is down at Carlisle, and it's the third weekend of August, which is next month. I think it's the 18th and 19th, I think, of August, if I can mind right. We have, I think it's a record amount of sheep there, which will be about 240,
Wow.
with about 100 for sale. So if you're keen on, looking at these sheep and buying something, or if you want any advice, come down there. Also, drop me a note. I suppose it doesn't cost nothing to chat back. Quite happy to chat to Emily about the breed. So we're really looking forward to it next month.
Well, Raymond, that's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you about it. It's what a super success story it's been, and you're doing well out of it. And I'm sure not just you doing well out of it, a lot of other people that have bought into this breed will do well themselves. So I wish you all the very best with it.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, well, great to have you on the show there, Raymond. We'll catch up for a beer somewhere around and about, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Top Lines and Tales. As always, we're grateful to Harborough for their kind sponsorship. At this time of year, when tups are being brought out for shows and sales, why not consider Harborough's Clover range of pedigree feeds, including the market-leading Maximon, Kelso, Tup and Lamb. To find out more about Harborough's range of products, visit their website or find them on social media. And whilst you're on social media, don't forget to visit our Top Lines and Tales Facebook page, where you'll find information and photographs regarding this episode and previous episodes.